In today's video, we're going to be making the brand new weedless compact finesse jig from Dual Molds. We're going to be doing it step by step from start to finish all the way through so you guys can see how these jigs are made. This is a brand new mold that just came out the end of September and it's available to you guys now. If you guys decide to get this mold, make sure to go down into the description of this video and click on the affiliate link that's down there. That affiliate link will send you to the Dual Molds website and Dual Molds will know that I sent you. It's the only way that I can get credit for any sales is by you going to their website through that link. So if you're gonna buy it, please go through that link so that way they know that I sent you. So this weedless compact finesse jig mold is built around the 10360 hook from Victory. Super sharp hook, and they are very inexpensive compared to a lot of the different hooks out on the market. So I highly suggest you guys giving these Victory hooks a shot. So one thing that I like to do with my molds before I start pouring is put them on top of my lead pot. This is the lead pot, and I got my mold up on top so that way everything gets nice and warm. Inside of that mold, it just helps everything pour a little bit easier without having incomplete pours. This is the inside of the mold. We can make quarter, 3/8, and half-ounce jigs out of this mold. I think those are pretty much the key sizes that you're gonna need. The quarter calls for a 2/0 hook, the 3/8 calls for a 3/0, and then the half-ounce calls for a 4/0. And some of those might sound big for a finesse jig, but once you see these jigs made up, it's actually still a very compact and finessey jig. So the first step in this process is deciding obviously what sizes we're gonna make. For this video, we're gonna make a half, and we're gonna make a 3/8. And what we need is our hooks. So I got one of these 4/0 Victory hooks in here. We're just gonna lay that in there. And then we're gonna get one of our 3/0 hooks and lay that guy in there. So as you can see already, these hooks aren't super large. So even though this is a 4/0 and this is a 3/0, it's still a very compact and small jig. So now I just need to close up our mold. And then as always, I like to make sure that everything's nice and flush right here to make sure that we're not gonna have any flashing in our pour. Another thing that you can always do is put your mold back up on top of your lead pot. There's a lot of heat that comes off of the lead pot, so that's gonna heat up your base hole pins and it's also gonna heat up your hooks. And then I always like to make sure that we have good flow coming out of our spout here. We do have good flow, so we should be able to pour these up no problem. So I'm just gonna take my mold off of the top and we're just gonna pour that lead into our cavities. Just like that. We're gonna let it all set up inside of our mold and then we will open it up and see what they look like. All right, so now it's time to open up our mold and check out our jigs. As you can see, we have a nice soft plastic bait keeper built in to this mold, so we don't have to add any wire forms or anything like that. Then we have a nice skirt collar on there as well. You can see that these jigs filled in very, very well, and this is literally the first 2 pours of the day. So even though my mold would have been probably colder than it would be after repeated pours, we still have a very good pour. This mold pours really, really well. You shouldn't have any issues with your skirt collars or with those soft plastic bait keepers. So now that our jigs are poured up, we still have this sprue coming off the top of our jig, so we definitely need to cut that off. And then one other thing that I like to do is take a file and file down the area where the sprue was connected. So that way everything becomes nice and flush. And it just gives the jig a better look. And then you can just flatten everything out just like that. And now you're gonna have a good, nice, smooth head of this jig. So we're at the point where we need to paint the heads of our jig. This is a heat gun. You need heat source in order to heat up the head of your jig. Then we're gonna dip it into the powder paint in this fluid bed. The fluid bed is pushing air into this cup, so that way you get better coverage of paint on the head of your jig. So the process to do this is pretty simple. We're just gonna heat up the head of our jig with this heat gun. I like to go back and forth to get even amounts of heat on the head of this jig. Now we're gonna dip it into the powder paint and just spin it around in there. Get off the extra. And just like that, we have a painted jig head. So there's one more step in the process before we actually put these jigs into the toaster oven. This is an eye buster tool right here. We're gonna stick the eye of our jig into that eye buster tool, just break any of that paint loose that's blocking and clogging up that eye. I also like to take a hook point and stick it through the eye of that hook and just clear everything out. And as long as the eye of your hook looks something similar to that, you're not going to have any problems. Any sharp spots or any abrasions that paint is creating right now is going to get melted down once we put it in the toaster oven. So you're going to be able to put that line through there and have no issues at all. Now we need to take these jigs and put them inside of our toaster oven. I just like to hang them upside down. It makes it just a simpler process. You can have issues if you put too much paint on there and you get like dimpling at the bottom of your jigs when you place them upside down like that. You can also get one of these guys. You stand the jigs up vertically, and then if you have any of those paint drips, they go down the shank of the hook rather than off the head of your jig. But if you're trying to do tons and tons of jigs at one time, you can do them like this and get a lot more jigs inside your toaster oven. So what we're gonna do is close up our toaster oven. I'm gonna set this to 20 minutes. We're at 350 already. Once that timer goes off, we're good to go. I like to bake them twice a lot of times. I just think it makes that paint just a little bit more durable. So our jigs are now out of the toaster oven, and that paint's a lot more durable, and we're gonna be able to fish these around the rocks, and that paint's gonna hold up a lot better. So now the process is to put this weed guard into the head of our jig, so that way it's nice and weedless. That process is pretty simple. All I'm gonna do is take some Gorilla Super Glue and dab it onto the edge of my weed guard. I'm literally just gonna squeeze some of that super glue onto the edge, just like that. And now that we have our jig, we're just gonna slide that weed guard into the hole that was created by the base hole pin when we made up these jigs. And just like that, now we have a weedless jig. All right, now it's time to put a skirt onto our jig. This is the hybrid banded skirt from Duo-Molds. This is also a new product. It has round rubber and silicone skirt material mixed in together, and they have a lot of awesome colors. This one's a really good one to imitate those crawdads, so we're gonna use this skirt in today's video. The process of putting on a jig skirt is pretty simple. We're just gonna take our hook point and go right into the middle of our jig skirt and simply thread it on there. Want to make sure everything is nice in the middle, just like that. And then this has a pretty good size plastic bait keeper, so we're gonna have to put some pressure on there to get it over that, and then we're gonna get it onto the skirt collar. And now would be the time to wire tie it. If you want to use thread, you can. Wire tying when they already have the silicone band on there is really simple, and that's gonna keep those skirts on there nice and snug. If you're gonna skip them or you're not gonna use them a lot and you're worried about that band coming apart, you can wire tie them. A lot of times I just leave them with the silicone. But that's a nice looking weedless compact finesse jig from Duo-Molds. There you have it, guys. That's the weedless compact finesse jig, brand new mold from Duo-Molds. I think these things are gonna be fish catchers. I think it's gonna be great for smallmouth, spotted bass especially. And then when you get to those finicky largemouth, just want something a little bit smaller than your typical size jig. I think that's when this one's gonna shine around those largemouth. Don't be afraid to make these in a shad pattern and mimic some of those smaller shad when a swim jig is gonna be in play. Guys, this is the weedless compact finesse jig. If you guys decide to get this mold, get some of these skirts, or get any of the other stuff that we talked about in today's video, make sure to use my Duo-Molds affiliate link that is down in the description. Click on that link, it'll send you over to Duo-Molds, and that will show them that I sent you. If you guys want to watch any more tackle making video, guys, please click on the video or the playlist that's on the screen right now, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.